Hey, Kevin Kaufman, Fred Weaver.
We're back, Kevin and Fred.
KevinandFred.com. So I'd like to point something out. You and I used to have this black leather couch,
That
a
couch
work
was
couch.
so awesome.
It was awesome. We
Remember
filmed a lot of videos on
We
it.
bought that at the dump when that first opened.
I do. But we sold that couch not too long ago because, well,
we sold that?
we've been in business now for 10 years together. I don't know if you knew that. We've been operating a real estate team and in the trenches and fighting to stay in business for the last 10 years. And over that time, I just don't want to get any closer to you. So I advocated for selling the couch, and we upgraded to these very nice chairs, which have a lot of distance. And I feel good right here with this distance in between us. So I just wanted to point that out.
Not as good as I feel.
Oh, really? Okay, that's awesome. Better than your hair feels. Anyway, okay, so...
And if any of you ever watched Short Sale Power, you remember I actually had hair.
Yeah. But anyway, this is KevinandFred.com, and the purpose of today's video is we want to bring some value to you beyond just our sarcasm and wit. We would like to talk a little bit about how to write a really great offer, specifically right here in Phoenix, Arizona, in our backyard where we do a lot of real estate business.
Yeah, because, I mean, we started talking a lot on our last video about some of the terrible experiences you've had.
Like really bad. Yeah, and I ranted for like 13 minutes. You don't need to hear all that.
What we wanted to do is come back today and actually say, hey, what are some things we could do tip-wise to help you? Like if you're struggling, maybe you've written a bunch of offers and you're having a hard time getting them accepted and you're wondering, like, what do I have to do to get that competitive advantage, that unfair advantage to make sure my client gets the house that they want? We don't have to see 30 more houses. So hopefully we can help you out with that today.
Yeah. So do you want to go first? Do you have a tip?
So I'll start with tip.
I'll let you take the first one.
Let's give a couple. Good.
Okay.
So I'm going to give my
We're
favorite.
making this up on the fly. I have no idea which one you're going to take.
Well,
so I'm thinking of like a couple right now just in case.
I'm going to take my favorite, which is the love letter, right? So
love letter?
Yeah, so
I'm really glad there's a lot of space in between us on these
You should be really glad about that.
Okay.
So a love letter, literally a letter not written by you, the agent, but a letter written by the client, the potential buyer, about why and how this is the perfect home for them. Maybe it has to do with them raising a family. Maybe it has to do with them moving on to the next chapter of their life. Maybe it has to do with a first-time home buyer. But something that appeals to the human side of the seller. Because what we found often is the seller actually doesn't always take the most money at the end of the day. A lot of times if there's some sort of connection, they take that. Now, the most money helps. Don't get me wrong. However, using a love letter to explain why this house is the one in a very competitive market when there could be 10 or 11 other offers can help your offer stand out.
Yeah, that's a great one. Can I go one step further on that?
Yeah.
So there's like a 1A, 1B bonus. Take a picture in front of the house or inside the house that you're making the offer on with your clients and include it as part of the love letter, right? Like customize it. Like what was it that they enjoyed about it?
So you say, are you going to tell a story about the Christmas picture?
You can go for it.
But we had a client who did that. Like there was a picture taken at a certain, like at the bottom of the stairs, and that was included in the love letter. And one of the things that came back from the seller and the seller's agent was, that's where we've taken our family Christmas picture every year. And it made them feel so good to know that someone else felt the same way and could see them using their home in the same way going forward.
Right. Cool. So number 2, not 1C. I'm going to lump this together, but I'm going to call it strong seller-specific contract language. Now, we're talking about how to get a buyer's offer accepted, right?
Yep.
But when writing the offer for your buyer, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of the seller and ask yourself the question, what would help win your offer? So if, as an example, there's a big bidding war going on and there's 10 offers on a property, 4 offers on a property, as you mentioned a minute ago, sometimes money is the winner, but it's not always money. So for example, a lot of earnest money would be something that the seller might find favorable, especially if they're seeing other offers that all have about the same earnest money, $1,000 or $2,000. Coming in with $5,000 or $10,000 worth of earnest money is a statement, right? A close of escrow date that lines up with the desires and needs of the seller. Now that starts by picking up the phone and talking to the listing agent and saying, hey, look, we'd like to write an offer. I understand this you're probably going to get multiple offers. You're getting a lot of interest on the home. Tell me about where your clients are moving to. When do they need to be there next, right? So literally qualifying the listing agent the same way you would almost qualify a seller if you were taking that listing, which is finding out what their motivation is, where they're moving, and when they need to be there, and then structuring your offer in a way that would win. So we've seen deals just in the last 30 days on our team here in Phoenix. Actually, we got a deal executed in Chandler where one of our team members actually found out that the seller had a new home closing at the end of July, and even though they didn't say it in the MLS, and nobody brought that up, they said, hey, well, if there's any way we could stay till the end of July or close and rent back for a few weeks, that would be ideal. We'd love to not have to move twice, right? But our agent only found that out by calling the other agent and learning about that, right? So strong offer terms that benefit the seller that your buyer can also live with. Stuff like earnest money, stuff like closing date, things of that nature. Stuff like, honestly, if you're multiple offer situation and the seller has a title company they've asked for or whatever,
use that title
company if that's what you need to gain an advantage, right?
Sometimes we get so in this mindset as real estate agents and negotiators that we're going to negotiate against the other agent. And if we looked at it as this, we're going to negotiate with the other agent, and we're going to do this together, because what we have is we have a seller and we've got a potential buyer, and they want the same thing.
Yes.
And so why don't we start working towards helping them get the same thing rather than making it be like this, right? And that's all that you're actually suggesting right there is let's work together, let's get on the phone, let's find out what's important. So, I mean, we've all heard the term insider trading. Real estate is the only industry where insider trading is actually totally legal, and in fact, it's encouraged, right?
That's a great way of saying it.
It really is. So use insider trading. My next tip is similar, but it's also a little bit different because it requires it's more of a risk. But what we've had to do quite a bit is agree to pay a certain amount over appraised value. So let's say we've got a house that comes in, and
is that legal?
Oh my goodness, I think it is.
Okay.
So, but let's say the contract price is, I'm going to say $250,000 as an example, and maybe comp-wise, we're going, I don't know, it's like 240, 245, right? So maybe there's a certain dollar amount that the buyer is comfortable paying above and beyond an appraisal, because quite frankly, they're tired of going out to seeing 30, 40, 50 homes a week only to be turned down. And so maybe it's a couple grand, maybe it's $5,000 over appraisal, maybe it's $10,000 over appraisal. But especially when your buyer has a decent amount of cash and a large down payment or the ability to make one, that would give you an extreme competitive advantage as a buyer versus the other buyers you're competing with for a particular home.
Right. So it's basically something like, hey, I'm going to make my offer at $250 or $260. If the home doesn't appraise, my buyer agrees that I will bring up to $5,000 in cash or $500 in cash above appraised value, not to exceed a certain amount of money, right? And so absolutely, that's a great way. The other thing I'm thinking about, I think I'm going to pause for a minute, and maybe, we could talk all day on this. I honestly think these are 3 great ideas. The fourth one I was just going to say real quick is get your lender involved, right? We kind of mentioned that in our last video, but your lender should be helping sell the qualification of the buyer that you're representing. So not only should you have a qualification form, but you should be copying your lender on offers you're writing. Yep. You should be working with a lender who loves to pick up the phone and call the cross-sale agent, the listing agent, and tell them how qualified and great your buyer is and how far they've run their credit and they've had their processor look at it and they have tax returns and bank statements. I understand all that's in the PQF, the pre-qualification form we use here in Arizona, but that contact, that personal connection makes a big difference.
It's so different when you actually have a conversation with the person, though.
Yeah.
I mean, humans want to connect. We're actually wired to connect.
Distance.
You're not, but you're also part robot. And so the reality is most humans are wired to connect. And so if you get your lender involved in the connection piece, picking up the phone, calling the listing agent and going, hey, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Smith or Mrs. Jones or whoever, they're totally qualified, they're clean, we're all the way through underwriting, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's going to give the listing agent a sense of wow, this buyer, their agent, and their lender on the same page, they get their stuff together. This might be a smooth transaction for us to work together.
Yeah. So I just came up with a future topic for a video. We're going to tease it right now, unless you tell me you hate it. But I think in the future we should talk about the importance of holding a buyer consultation.
Absolutely.
Now, many of our viewers out there, like many of you guys, you're going, well, yeah, I hold a buyer consult. Like I have the buyer come in and I talk to them.
We're going to go a little deeper.
Or some of you are even saying, what are you talking about? What's a buyer consultation? I just go out and show houses. So we're going to talk about why we hold buyer consultations, what that structure looks like. And these suggestions we just gave, here's the tease on this. All these things can work if addressed properly in the buyer consultation, if the expectation's set, if the client understands what you're doing. A lot of these strategies we just threw out, like a close of escrow date and stronger earnest money, and potentially like doing a cash above appraisal and a love letter, trying to pull all these things off when you didn't set the expectations right at the beginning of the transaction is nearly impossible. Yeah. So these strategies, while good in nature, if you've not had these conversations with your client prior to showing homes, good luck trying to get them implemented or executed or get the buyer on board with the importance of why you would want to do these things. So I think the next video we could shoot in the coming weeks would be talking about the importance of the buyer consult, and not just to get the buyer to sign and commit to working with you, but I'm talking about do the heavy lifting at the buyer consult. And talk about what that is.
Yes, absolutely.
So cool. Hopefully between now and then you'll get a haircut. And we're gonna work on some lighting in here. Can we improve the lighting?
Yeah, I got a light.
Okay, we like you guys. We're actually trying to bring some value here out these videos. So I'd like you to be able to see Kevin's
speaking of additional value, we actually put together something.
Oh shoot!
We have a document, right, that we had created for our own within our own team, right?
Yeah.
Around best practices for getting offers accepted in a competitive market.
I think that's what it's called.
And so we have a document. I'm not gonna lie, we have to go look for it, but I know we have it.
I looked at it a month ago.
So if you're interested at all in getting a copy of that document, just raise your hand. Like me, I'd like a copy, whatever.
Send me a copy, please, whatever. Comment below.
How about send me a copy, pretty please?
Don't put your email address, because nobody wants, you put your email address on Facebook, somebody else is putting you on their spam list. That's dumb. We don't want to spam you either. But just say you want it, and we'll have Kevin, he loves to sit on Facebook Messenger all day long.
I'll messenger it to you.
We'll send it out.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
All right.
I think this was good. We hit 4 points. I want to say that document, and I guess you could call this a tease in the video business we're doing here, but I think that document has about 18 different ways, 16,
really,
18.
I remember we
got really specific on all the different ways to differentiate your offer. So you're going to probably want to take a look at that document.
It's pretty valuable. All right.
I think it's good.
Cool. Thanks for your time today.
Hey, see you next time. Maybe with lights.
Awesome.